The new TD12KX V-Stage Series V drums is designed for superior performance in both stage and studio applications. The patented multi-layer mesh head V pads and V cymbals offer exceptional playability, expressiveness, and a pronounced look. The KD120 12-inch kick drum provides a solid foundation for the set. The dual-trigger PD85 pads for the rack toms and the larger PD105s for the snare and floor tom pads give an exceptional feel that you can tension to your liking. The CY12R and CY12C provide a natural cymbal feel for crash and ride performance, including three-way ride triggering capability. The VH11V hi-hat works with your own acoustic hi-hat stand for a smooth and accurate response. The new MDS 12X stand provides a solid platform with flexible mounting hardware for perfect pad placement. It also has the cables running through the stand for a clean and organized look. The TD12 percussion sound module is packed with dynamic and expressive sounds and unique features. The 50 drum sets allows you to play in any style of music, and the onboard sequencer with its patterns offers unique and fresh musical expressiveness. The TD12 sound module has also been newly expanded with more creative icon-based V-editing sound design features such as snare shell, head, and even microphone modeling, cymbal modeling, even adding sizzle, bass drum modeling, including beater selection. The TD12 now has all the editing of the popular TD20 percussion sound module. If you can think of a drum sound you want to hear, you can create it with the TD12's extensive V-editing. Complete your sound editing by adding any of the ambient room settings, extensive digital effects, 3-band parametric EQ, and compression. The 12 dual trigger pad inputs and MIDI offer expandability to create your own custom setup. The 4 audio plus headphone outputs are perfect for recording applications. There's even a mix input for plugging in your MP3 player or a click track to play along with. The V-Stage Series TD12KX. Professional features and playability and a great value in a compact and powerful V-drum set.
So, I guess from the perspective of getting started, I'm going to do a PowerPoint presentation, and in that presentation is just kind of the do's and don'ts, introduction to the drum kit itself. A small portion of that will be dedicated to showing kind of what you can do with the drum set in a basic sort of manner, especially for the drummers, selecting different types of sounds and those sorts of bits and pieces. And at the beginning of this will be just kind of the technical stuff, how we've come to this point where we've set up the soundboard and the brain. So, hey buddy, I got my little helper up there, Brendan. Hey, wave to everybody. There you go. He's nice. Can I get the next slide there? So towards the end of this, we'll do a little bit of a question and answer period, basically along with the troubleshooting. Okay. Anybody has any questions as we're going along, by all means, put your hand up. Or if you have something to add, put your hand up. Now these booklets are basically for you to keep. At the back, I'll just give you a quick rundown. I put kind of just I guess the basic drummer part of the manual itself, and it just kind of explores what the panel looks like, its descriptions, and then towards the end here, it's got all the little bits and pieces of the different types of sounds that this brain can actually generate. All right, so I'll just get started on the PowerPoint here, and this took a little while to kind of figure out. When I first started this business with the drum set, I'm a complete ignorant when it came to sound. I'd sit down at the drums and just kind of do my thing, and made some people happy, made some people mad. So during this entire exploration time, I really learned a lot about sound and all of the equipment. Now, I didn't necessarily have that knowledge beforehand, and I'm hoping that this little bit will help some of those people that are like me before, where you're just kind of sitting there going like, hey, I'm playing an instrument, yeah, and I don't know how this stuff works. So we're going to explore a bit of that. And this PowerPoint, and especially this screen here, kind of gives you a basic illustration of how we're going to set this up so that we have kind of the optimal sound coming out. So at the top we have the mixing board, and for those of you who don't know what that is, that's back there. All the sound guys are kind of the ones that really have, I guess, the hand in how that works. Now, if you have any questions, especially drummers, I know you probably don't, but I do sometimes. The sound guys are responsible for that. Now, what we've done is we've allocated 2 channels out of the drum brain. So that is that black box over there that you can see on the drum set. And 2 channels, one for high-end sound, so like the cymbals and the ride, and we haven't decided whether or not the snare is going to go there or not. We'll see tonight. And then 1 channel for all the lows, so like the kick drum and then all of the toms, so those are the lower end frequencies. And then there's 1 auxiliary that goes in for a mix-in, and we have a headset for that. I think you guys have all seen that part where you put the headset on, you can listen to. The other way is obviously to listen through it, through the pit monitors, or of course the stage monitors, and we do have another set, I guess, of monitors now. So hopefully we can kind of get all that kind of practice tonight to see if we can get the sound right for the stage. Anyway, so channels, I got it written up here for 10 and 11, and this is part of the communication thing. It actually ended up in 9 and 10. So anyway, it's marked on the board over there as 9 and 10 for you sound guys, and also for the drummers too, that you know that those are the 2 channels that are on there. Now I did set the brain up so that it would only send those signals in those channels. So you guys don't have to touch any of that. It's just basically preset and it's ready to go. So we got 1 set of headphones. Now you can use those as basically a monitor. The only downfall is, and we'll explore that later, is trying to get the right volume for the drums in that headset. So we probably already explored some of that stuff. We're having some trouble with that. Okay, so next slide there, Brendan. Any questions on that? Okay. So this is the back of the brain, and just to show you where we've kind of plugged in. So you can see the mix-in there, basically in the center. So that mix-in is the stereo channel. So that's all the sound that everybody, so guitars, vocals, piano, that's all mixed back in and put into your headset as a monitor. The drums has its own individual volume, and trying to get the mix-in volume and those sorts of things, we'll show you a little later, or we'll explore that a little later. Getting that right can be sometimes difficult. And then of course you can see here, we've got direct in 1 and 2, and those go to DI boxes. So I hope everybody knows what a DI box is, because I have no clue. I'm just kidding. Okay, next slide there, buddy. There's the DI box. So basically what this piece of instrument equipment does is convert 1/4 inch to XLR, and my understanding of all this is because 1/4 inch cable, you can't go like 50 feet without any degradation, so that's what the XLR cable is for. I see some nodding over here. So we have 2 of those boxes, and I think John has got a double box now. I'm not sure what that is. Okay. Okay, so it has just 1 box, but 2 channels on it. Okay. All right, so then the 2 channels in, and then 2 channels going out. Oh, okay. Okay, so right now in this configuration we have 2 of these boxes, and they're on short cords that run just basically over to the in box over the XLR box. Now we did talk a while back, I think it was at Christmas time, about moving this. There will be only, what should I say, what would tie us to this side here is the length of the cables that we have. So we can kind of move that back and forth to see how far we can go across the stage or put it further down or anything like that. It's just those 2 short cables that go to the DI boxes that might just keep us from going all the way to the pit, if that's what we choose to do. Okay, so now, next slide there, buddy. Okay, so this here's the drum brain, and this is basically, this section is for the drummers and for some of the sound guys if you're interested. Up in the top right-hand corner is the master volume. Now, because we're running this through the direct out, there is no master volume. If you look at the, well, I guess, can you go back to the previous 2 slides there, buddy? Go back one, and one more. Yeah. So you can see here we got direct out 1 and 2, and then masters left and right. So if we're running a stereo system, you would run that through there, and then you would have control with that master volume. But because we want to keep the control at the sound booth rather than at the drum brain, we've taken that option away from everybody. Okay, go back to that one where all the circles, I guess that's 2 slides from now, buddy. Okay, right there, that's perfect. So you don't have to worry about using the master volume on this drum head, the drum brain, and you don't have to worry about doing this group fade. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to set it up inside the drum brain itself so that you don't have to actually touch any of the volumes. So as a drummer, you'd basically sit down at the drums, turn it on, set it to Maple Kit. That's the one we're going to try tonight to make sure that we get set up. And then make sure that all of the ambient sound and the FX sounds are turned off. And then you won't have to touch any volumes whatsoever. All the responsibility for the volumes will be at the soundboard. Okay? So let's go to the next slide there. So another part you don't have to worry about is chain, setup, or trigger. Now, for those of you who are keeners, if you want to go ahead, I have the full manual here. And you can go ahead and check that out one time. But for regular day-to-day use on Sundays, and even for practices, we don't have to worry about that. Okay, next slide there, Brendan. Once again, the sequencer, this does have the capability to record and then play back. Once again, I can't figure out when you'd want to use this, but if you're a real good technical guru, I think maybe you'd want a hand at that, wouldn't you there, Terry? You'd like to record Brendan. Yeah, so just as an example, this sequencer here, you could come in, say on Thursday, do a drum lesson or do a drum session, record it, come back here on Sunday, and have nobody sitting there and just hit play. So we could be obsolete here using all this electronics here. Okay, so that's one other thing you don't have to worry about is the sequencer. Okay, next slide, Brendan. Okay, so there's the ambience and then there's the FX. We don't have to worry about that neither. And then go ahead for the next slide there. This is the part that we're going to be kind of focusing on as drummers. This is basically the control center. There are a couple functions in here that we'll go through quickly. The functions are, I think some of you have probably already explored how to get different sounds out of different parts of the drum kit, how to explore that, what to do if you've made a mistake and where to go to reset it and how to do that. We'll kind of learn that a little bit later. This is kind of the basic set. So that's the part that we're going to be really focusing on. Now the top 2 dials, the mix-in dial and the headphone dial, those are the ones that you would be really keying on if you're wearing the headset. If you're not wearing the headset, I wouldn't worry about it at all. Just the regular sound would be coming through the floor monitors. So then you can ask your sound person to turn yourself up or turn a guitar up or a piano or a specific vocals in there. And so those are the only 2 dials you'd have to worry about if you're wearing your headset. The rest of this stuff, as you can see, there's not a lot that as a drummer when you sit down, you'll have to worry about. So the dial on that, the round dial just takes you through the different types of drums. Now the plus minus does exactly the same thing. And same with the cursors, they go up and down, side to side. I mean, with the dials, it's 3 different ways to scroll through this thing. Really, you probably only need 1 button, perhaps. But anyway, that's basically the drum brain and the drummers. And same thing with the sound guys from the perspective of the sound person. You're not going to have to worry about a whole lot of this stuff because we're going to set it up tonight where you're going to be basically the ones that are controlling the tone and the sound and all that through the EQ on the soundboard. Okay, next slide, buddy. All right, so this part's basically just focusing on the troubleshooting and what some of the stuff that we're going to be looking at a little bit later and kind of how the drums are set up.